She Is Serious, a podcast where we showcase female athletes and their impact beyond the game. Each week, we will be bringing on influential women in the world of sports and showing why they are so much more than athletes. My name is Taylor Hall. I'm a health and fitness influencer and collegiate athlete at Biola University. And this is my sis, my co-host, Ashley White. What's up, girl?
Hey, y'all. Hey, my name is Ashley White, a former student athlete manager for UNCW's women's basketball, a blogger, writer for Beautiful Ballers, and an advocate for women in sports. Thank you for tuning in weekly to She Is Serious podcast. And this is why female athletes are now to be taken seriously. Yes.
Hey sis, welcome back to another episode of She Is Serious. Today we have on a very special guest, a very influential woman in the world of sports today, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. You probably have heard of her. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Thank you, ladies. Girls' night. So I know it's going to be fun with you all.
Yes, a girls' night. Kelsey's been doing a lot of things in the world of sports and just leading the path for women. So we're really excited to hear about your story.
Oh, thank you so much for the kind words. I always just say, my job is just to hopefully inspire the next generation. I am so ready for a world full of just more women in sports because I think we're the boss. I think we're bomb. And it's honestly just an honor to be here. I'm a little girl living out her dream each and every day, and I take nothing for granted. So I'm just humble about everything that I've been afforded and all the opportunities.
Yes, girl. Yes. Girl, I feel like you just answered one of the questions, even though
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
we will deep dive into it. Yes. We just want to learn how Miss Kelsey Nicole Nelson, how did she become who she is right now through your sports story?
Ooh, I love that question. I think for me, sports has always played a role in my life. And this is from coming out the womb and my dad being a sports fan very early on. So that means I was one of the babies that had the cute little sports outfits on, just because my dad was putting it on me early. And then because of my family history, like my family's Southern folks. I'm a DC girl. I grew up in the DMV area, but I used to spend my summers in the Deep South. And in the South, if you've ever been to the Deep South, and I'm talking about Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, what we call the real South, sports and religion are cultures. All right. You go to church and you watch sports or you play sports. And so that's the world that I grew up in. And then for me too, I've always been competitive, just naturally a competitive person. So I was always taking on the boys in sports and, always usually like that best girl. I'm a Boys and Girls Club kid. So, we used to play a bunch of sports, with each other, at the club. And again, I'm competitive. So I have to win. If I'm going to be in it to win it, I played everything too. My parents were busy. I was booked and busy as a kid. I'm booked and busy now. It's just been, I guess, what I've always been doing. I played soccer, tennis. I tried softball, volleyball, basketball. I tried a little bit of everything again because I love sports. I love being active. It's hard for me now to see kids not be outside because I love to be outside. I love to be on the court. I loved having my teammates. I love people pushing me. I love leading, people in sports. And so I think for me too, growing up in the DC area, I grew up with when Wizards were much better. Wizard culture was at an all-time high. Georgetown basketball when I was young was at an all-time high.
Oh, yeah.
Maryland basketball. I was, a young kid when Maryland won the championship, the men back in 2001. So all that to say, I've been in a sports culture. It's honestly all that I've known. And I always said, I'll never forget my first sporting event. My parents got free tickets to a game, my first professional sporting event. And I remember we sat up high in the nosebleed seats, but I always said, one, I never want to leave here. And two, I want to find a way down to the court. And that's kind of what enabled me to kind of have my sports story. Because I said, how do I get myself back in this arena? And how do I become those cool people that are down there walking around the court, talking to the players? I wanted to be them. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And so that's what I put my mind to. And so early on then, I made sure I focused on my writing and my speaking skills, which meant, I was in journalism classes I enrolled in. I started doing pageants to get better at public speaking and speaking in front of crowds. Started modeling even to, have better posture. And I did everything that I could and to invest literally in myself. To kind of be the best version of me. And then, of course, that carried me on to college where I was able to do that on another level. But honestly, it started early on for me, watching sports, getting better at journalism, and honestly really finding out who I was as a person to best kind of find my voice, my authentic self as a broadcaster, and really saw what people resonated with early on.
That girl. Woo-hoo! The epitome the epitome of what it is to be a woman in sport, all like just collided, just in a whole ball. Ooh,
That's so
girl.
awesome that you took the initiative yourself to work on things such as I would have never thought of doing modeling for posture. That's like so crazy.
Yeah.
And then also all of your public speaking classes. I think that's something that is really lacking in
Yeah.
today's society because we're always on the phone, we're always over our screen. So public speaking is something that's really
Facts.
nerve-wracking to a lot of people. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what helped you get out of your shell at the beginning?
Well, I will tell you all, I come from a large Black family. And what that means is that I've always had to fight for my voice to be heard. It means whenever people are talking, I have to be like, hey, you guys, I'm here, I'm here. And, I think for me, that's honestly like what I felt like. And it's kind of like, when you're trying to get the attention amongst men, I had to find a way to make my voice heard and for people to take me seriously. So honestly, thank my family, I think, for one being kind of me turning into an extroverted person. I probably super early on. And then I think too, just in my community, I grew up around so many different cultures and backgrounds. And so I had to really learn early how to understand people. I think my high school where I went to school was like 25% of each ethnicity. The first year I was there and it's the first year it opened. So again, being exposed to so many different types of people, early on, I had to learn how to talk to people, cultural norms and certain things that some people don't learn until much later in life, because a lot of times people grow up in a neighborhood where a lot of people look like them. Where for
Yeah.
me, my experience was a bit different because when I grew up in the DMV, I was around a lot of different cultures. But yet, when I went back to Jackson, Mississippi in the summer with my grandmother, it was more so people that looked like me. So, kind of having to kind of, divvy between the two. But I think because of that, again, I had to find out who I was, how I presented to so many different types of folks. And really learn, like how people would accept me for me. And so I'm honestly just thankful for that. So thankful for the different cultural backgrounds, thankful for my family, even now fighting for my voice at family dinners. And I got to MC this family reunion this summer. So we're going to see how that goes and if I can get everybody
Oh,
to
it's gonna be
listen.
great.
If I
That's
can get everybody
awesome.
to listen to me. But I think honestly, that's what it is. It's like so much of what I do in journalism is just honestly pulled from my everyday experiences. This is what I've been doing for a long time, obviously, just now on a much bigger scale and with much more people watching me. But it comes just from the early beginnings, y'all, of just learning again how to be me, how to have people accept me for me. But the biggest thing I can say is really finding my voice. And I can't emphasize how important that is to find your voice. And your voice might be different. The way you talk to your family is probably different than the way you talk to your friends and the way that you talk to your best friends. But what's the like unified voice? Something that can carry on that when people say your name is the identifier. So for me early on, it's Kelsey's bubbly. She's always smiling, but she's knowledgeable and she can be serious. Like she can flip the switch real quick. Like she can go from laughing to like boom, deep political conversation. And I think people respected me, for that. And being able to do that at a young, early age, I think, too, just being able to kind of blossom into that was honestly what just kind of helped propel me and people pushing me because they saw those early traits in me as a young child.
What would be some advice that you would give to a young girl who maybe hasn't found her voice yet and she wants to go into broadcast journalism, but she's nervous about what other people may think? What's some advice that you'd say, hey, push those voices to the side and be confident in yourself and find your voice?
Oh, I love that. For me, for one, honestly, I'd say practice, practice, practice. I think now, because of these cool things called phones, I mean, you can literally record yourself. Not, I used to talk in front of a mirror to like see how my facial expressions were, watch my body language. Now you can record yourself, play it back, and, even easily send it in a group chat, send it to your family member. Like, I think it's so much easier now. So I can't emphasize enough how important repetition is. I think number two, get that feedback and take it to mind and heart. When I say take it to mind and heart, know that everything that people are telling you isn't necessarily personal. My whole life, I've been told that I talk fast. But guess what? That's a part of me. And I do try to slow down at times, but at the same time, I think that's honestly part of my brand. And honestly, in radio, it helps a bit because radio is usually a lot much faster, a lot, it moves quicker. So it helps me in that aspect. And I'm thankful for everybody that reminds me of that. Because honestly, when I'm talking, to you all, I don't catch that. And I'm thankful that people have told me that my whole life. So I'm cognizant more so of it. So I say, sometimes take things to, and it didn't hurt me. That's just me naturally. That's why I say take some things to mind and take some things to heart. But you have to kind of know the different separators. But then also go beyond your circle when you're asking people for advice. I can't tell you enough how many young people come up to me and like, my mom thought this was great and my dad thought that was great. And I can't tell you guys, my parents still, I'm 30 now. My parents still tell me everything's great. And I love my parents to death. But sometimes, and my mom's a little bit better at it, I need those people that are going to be like, I need that, that real criticism or that real critique, because that's how I'm going to get better. Because if every time I'm just hearing how awesome and how great I am, that means I'm not going to challenge myself. That means I'm not going to try to change anything. So really sometimes go out the box, send something. I see so many young people now that I don't know, they LinkedIn message me, they tweet me, they get in the DMs, and I don't know these people. So obviously I don't have a bias or background, but I'm able to give them real critique. And then to that point, be consistent when you're asking for feedback. If somebody doesn't get back to you that first time or second time, don't think it's a bad thing. Like right now, I'm embarrassed how many unread texts and how many unread emails. Ashley probably knows this because that's why she followed up with me to make sure I was coming on. But it was good because it's crazy busy right now, right? With NBA playoffs and my job, and I'm doing a million cajillion things. I'm about to go back on travel. And so it's not that I want to ignore anybody. I have my students. It's just that literally, like, I see it and I don't respond to it. And then sometimes I do forget at that moment, but be consistent. And I'm gonna say, you know what? Let me get back to her right now. She's followed up with me. She's done it in a respectful way. Don't be annoying. Do it in a respectful way. And just know that people do want to get back to you. So I think that's also super important. And then I think probably the last thing, just make sure that you're networking. Network outside your circle. Go to conferences. Go to career fairs. Join journalism organizations or sports media organizations. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do. I was super active as a college student, but I wish I would have even done more back then because I started joining professional organizations in grad school, like, because I was broke as a college student. So when I got a little bit of money in grad school, I was like, I can pay these dues and these fees. But now there's so many folks that will cover these fees for you. So now I'm super active in the National Association of Black Journalists, the Women in Sports and Entertainment Media. And these are groups I wish I would have been active in back in undergrad, y'all. So I say, but also don't think it's ever too late. Like, these organizations are amazing. I've got so many great networking opportunities. I've been able to host events for these organizations, travel with these organizations, meet so many cool folks through these orgs. And I can't tell you enough, like, as a freelance journalist, all of my opportunities have literally come from word of mouth or me connecting with somebody. So networking is so important. Don't think you're too young to do it. Start early. I started emceeing events, I think, when I was about 19 or 20 years old. And that's young, you could say, to do that, but it's because I was networking early on and people kept passing my name around. And obviously I'm much better now than I was back then, but people gave me the opportunity because they saw something in me, they believed in me, and because I had earned the trust of so many folks. So I can't emphasize enough, network, 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 step outside of your comfort zone, meet new people. Don't be afraid to shoot your shot at strangers, because you just never know where it's going to land. But usually folks want to help people because there are a lot of good people in the world. I know the news might make you think otherwise, but people genuinely do want to help people. And when somebody sees a hunger and drive in you, and I think that's been my story, like, honestly, why I think I am where I am is because my work ethic is you're not going to outwork me. And anybody that knows me knows that's true. That's why I take my eye drops, before I joined you ladies. My eyes were a little bit red. My body's telling me to go to sleep, but there's much more to do. But my work ethic is unmatched. And I say that proudly because I only know how to work hard because I've had to do it my whole life. So know that to say, like, my last piece of advice, I guess, would be know people are always watching, and know that when you put work out there, it should be your best work. It should be your best work. And that goes back to why I said, get people to critique your work, get that honest feedback and criticism. So what you put out there, you just never, I was just on TV in Dubai. Why did I get that opportunity? Because they had saw my work online. And that's amazing to me. Never been there. But it's because you put your best work out there. And then because of word of mouth and people have been spreading, and because, again, I'm always nice. I'm naturally nice. I'm a Southern girl, but naturally nice to people. I think I do good work, and people genuinely want to, help people that are good. I'm also just thankful to have such a supportive village of folks that, know who I am. So also just know, like, when people are watching you, they're not just watching your work. They're watching who you are as a person. Don't be nasty. Don't be rude. Like, people genuinely want to support and back people that are just good-hearted, kind people. So just know all of that goes into you, hopefully becoming the you that you want to be. And honestly, being able to build your brand in this crazy, media industry where so many people are looking for the next big thing. But that next big thing is going to be you being uniquely you and people backing you because they like you. I love that.
I love it.
So, Kelsey, I have a question for you because, as you know, not only you are a broadcaster, because you are an amazing broadcaster, you're an amazing person overall. You've done a lot of, I think you worn a lot of hats. You've done, like, hosting and, just the whole teaching and stuff. My question is, when you have hosted, what was that most memorable event that you hosted that you were like blessed to be part of? It could be like a sporting event. It could be like a charity. It could be anything that you're like, man, I will cherish that forever.
I love this question. I feel like I love every question, but it's because I like to tell my story and I like to hear people's stories. So this is again my work in media. For me, it was last year. I got to host the 2022 Defense Media Awards. It was great because one, the organization reached out to me from Paris to have me host an event in my home city of Washington, D.C. So I was like, dang, I'm being watched on an international level. Two, I actually used to do a military show called America Speaks, and I've always been wanting to get back. And I used to do a show where it was broadcast to troops around the country, around the world, really. And I would give a sports update. And I honestly miss that. I miss it so much. I'm just thankful. I mean, I can't say enough about our troops and the people that obviously protect and serve and keep us safe on an everyday basis. And so I was like, oh my God, this is such a great way to one, get back into that community. And then two, I'm connecting with folks international. So now this helps to build my brand more internationally, right? And I've been to Paris. It's been a long time since I've been to Paris. I did study abroad back in 2008, telling my age. I did it back in high school. But to be reconnected was amazing. And then they did it at the National Press Club, which if you haven't been to DC, the National Press Club is one of the most exclusive premier journalism organizations where they fight for freedom of the press. So to be able to be a woman where I'm a member to host such a big honor, and these are journalists who cover war, who cover, new military aviations, like journalists who honestly, really, cover the government. I mean, these are journalists who do that hardcore, hard-hitting journalism. And they entrusted me, a young Black girl from Germantown, Maryland, to do this. I just thought it was so amazing. And so I think for me, it was truly great. The room was people that look much different than me, but it just shows you, I think when people believe in you and they see something in you, there's not any room that you can't be in, and there's not any room that you won't be invited in. And I'm honestly just thankful. And it's an organization now that I'm connected with. And so they're going to switch off for events between Paris and DC. And so now, again, going back to my international brand, now I get to host events over in Paris as well as here in DC. So I'm just thankful for that opportunity, and that was my most probably memorable.
What a fun job. Oh my gosh. What's your favorite place that you've traveled to being a reporter?
Ooh, favorite place I've traveled to. That's a great question. Oh my gosh, there's so many because honestly, you said you're from Arizona and I haven't been to Arizona, Taylor, in a little while. Phoenix this year for Super Bowl. I didn't realize how Phoenix is like a mini LA almost. It was amazing. It was incredible. And I hadn't been to Phoenix, Taylor, in a little bit. I think I hadn't been to Phoenix since 2015. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Phoenix was so much fun. And again, I hadn't been to Phoenix, but Super Bowl one makes everything better. But Phoenix was I was hosting events there. I got to go to so many different restaurants, eat so many different types of food, meet so many cool types of people. If you're not a sports fan, a lot of athletes retire in Phoenix or Scottsdale area. So literally anybody who's anybody was in Phoenix, and you were just invited to their house, or you saw, people's private jets and private planes. It was incredible and amazing.
Okay, so I've been living in Phoenix and I did not know about all these superstars that were living there. I mean, I know a lot of people retire there, but yeah, it looks like I need to be invited to some people's houses. I didn't realize. Wow.
Phoenix has everybody. I'm telling you, they all retire down there. They want sun and they want to play golf. So Phoenix is the perfect combination.
It really has grown a lot. A ton of people from California are moving out there now. And so it's kind of a melting pot, and it's cool to see the growth because especially the downtown area where they're doing the Super Bowl, it's gotten a lot of traction over the last couple years, which is nice.
It's amazing. I almost didn't leave. I think I was in Phoenix 9 or 10 days. And DC almost did not see me back. I was almost about to write my love letter. DC, it's been good.
That makes me a proud Phoenix citizen. Everyone, AZ is where it's at. That's my hometown, baby.
I'm sorry,
Kelsey, literally, now I'm proud. I'm like, oh.
I don't know about it because I have yet to go.
You got to take Ashley. Taylor, you got to have Ashley with the invite.
No, we have to do a meetup. I told her I would go to North Carolina, and then she can come down to Phoenix. We can go to hometown visits, do an in-person.
That. See, field trip.
Yeah. Except for not over summer. It's so hot. It's so hot.
That's the only thing, though. Don't go right in the middle of summer, Ashley, because you will probably not like Taylor.
I dealt with hot weather, like Colorado weather. It was dry hot. I thought I was going to melt, but then you had North Carolina wet weather. So that's you know what? I can't deal with this heat. But the heat we can deal with is the sports now. But we got to deal with this heat though. But this is the amazing heat though. This is that hot heat. So
it's that hot heat.
That hot
heat. Ashley, I spent summers in New Orleans, so I understand the heat that you're talking about. Humidity. And the way that it hits you, even here in DC, is different.
It's just like, girl.
I'll be in curls in the summer. I'll be in curls.
Yes.
And you will slay all day, slay.
Appreciate you.
But how, I remember, like, I know you are, you know, as a Black woman in sports, is, I think representation is very, very crucial, especially like, you know, when you know, for me, it's you and then Ari Chambers, and then I have another friend that she does track, but she also does sports broadcasting.
Nice.
And we had her on the show here.
Yeah,
And
Effie.
yeah, Effie Andre. Yeah, so so my question is, how has sports media changed with, you know, say you being not only a trailblazer but being like the influencer and the just the person to lead the way with for future generations.
Wow. Like, thank you. Yeah. I mean, again, I am sometimes speechless, you know, the nice things that people say. Cause, you know, when I do this because I love it, because I breathe it. And I truly do think this was God's purpose and plan for me. Even though now, you know, I'm expanding so much more beyond sports, because just like the athletes, I am more than just sports, more than an athlete. And, you know, I want to my biggest thing is to leave an impact. But going back to the Black woman, you know, in media, you know, I think we've obviously made progress. Like, you know, for me, it's amazing to turn on my TV screen and see people of the same melanated skin, you know, as me. And on the radio side, I don't hear it as much, but I also still know there's more Black women getting into that. And so I think, you know, we've made progress, not just in front of the camera and what people see, but also behind the camera. I know so many amazing Black female producers that are behind the camera producing your favorite shows that y'all, you know, are watching in the morning. But I think, you know, we still have so much more work to do. It's why I'm a part of the National Association of Black Journalists and their Sports Task Force Committee. It's why I'm the co-chair of that mentorship committee, because we want to make sure that young journalists have mentors to help guide them as they break into this industry. This is young Black journalists, and doing that now too as the vice president of the Washington Association of Black Journalists here in DC. And the reason why that mentorship piece is so important is because, one, we're still seeing a lot of journalists of color, especially Black journalists, have a hard time breaking into the industry. Because what happens a lot in journalism is people refer people they know. And it goes back to my story I shared earlier. A lot of times people you know, they're in your circle. And usually your circle will look a lot like you. And again, everybody, you know, to each their own preference. But what happens is when people just look like you, are they your friends? Nobody else can get into that room. So it kind of goes back to the saying, you know, everyone talks about having a seat at the table. Well, how can you have a seat at the table if you're not even invited into that room? Well, if you're not invited into that room, that means you're going to have to bang and kick and get priors and somehow get that door down. So that's what happens to a lot of Black journalists. They have a harder entryway in. For me, you know, I had to literally make a podcast for me to kind of get more known on a national scale, because people weren't giving me an opportunity to have my voice heard. And I was seeing people with less experience get an opportunity ahead of me. So I had to literally find a way to say, look, I'm not going to no longer be ignored. And I don't do well with that. Anybody knows me,
Period.
you know, like, I'm going to work for that. And I think, again, so many of our Black journalists are doing that. So I say that to say we've made growth and we've been climbing, but we're not at the top of the mountain yet. Like Dr. King would say, we haven't reached the mountain peak yet. So I think, you know, we're on the side of the rock trail. We're still climbing, but what's happening is that my hands are getting slippery and they're starting to slip, because for every stride we make, we also see things backtrack. So meaning we see Black women being silenced, i.e. Jamel Hill and her, you know, on recent departure from ESPN. And not even just Black women. Look what happened with Jim Trotter, you know, at the NFL media. You know, you ask about diversity in the National Football League and media, and all of a sudden your contract isn't renewed. We can talk about the diversity that needs to happen. And what Jim Trotter was saying was so important. I'm going to tell you guys why. So many people don't also realize the hiring managers, and this is where we also don't see enough diversity. A lot of hiring managers don't look like me. And the hiring managers are who bring the talent in. And again, it goes back to them. If they're not familiar with you, it's going to be very hard for them to obviously hire you. And what Jim Trotter was saying is, how do we get more diversity in the leadership positions as well in media? Because those leadership positions are going to be who bring new people in. And so I think that's an area where we have a lot of growth to do. I still think we're on that bottom edge of the mountain, and we're trying to get to the top on that end. So, you know, I'm thankful for, you know, the Maria Taylors and my girl from the DMV, Monica McNutt, and people like that, you know, who have been able to obviously make strides. But there's so many more. And for me, I'm not happy at the table until my table is full with everybody who's been long ignored, with everybody who's been long been pushed out, and with everybody who's not been welcome at that table. So right now, you know, I always say too, you know, I want to sit at the table where I'm able to not only sit at the table, put my elbows down, talk, be heard, be listened to, and have everything I'm saying be implemented. It's not enough to just invite me
Yes.
to the table. And right now, we're not enough women are being invited, yet alone being listened to. So we've got work to do, ladies, but I think we're up for the challenge. I think we're up for the task, and I'm so happy that we talk about these issues, because that's the first way I think to change it is you have to have the conversation. But then, too, I get tired of just talking about it. I want to see actions put behind it.
Yes.
So how do we work with and that's why I'm on leadership boards, because I want to be part of the solution and not the problem. And it's not just enough for me to talk about this. It's important for me to be part of the solution. So actually getting to work with organizations and, hiring managers, DEI focus, and I was on DEI before it became trendy and a thing, because DEI has been part of my life since July 17th, 1992, when I came into this world. And it's going to be part of my life till I go out of this world. So I just think it's super, super important. Again, be an advocate, be a sponsor, be a mentor, and help these young people, especially journalists of color, not only get into newsrooms, but have longevity in newsrooms, and make sure, because you guys see the recent layoffs, unfortunately, as well, like make sure that they're comfortable in newsrooms and make sure that they're being supported. So we still got a lot of work to do, but it's okay. I got my baby oil on my elbows and I'm ready to go to these tables and have these conversations.
Yes, girl.
Baby oil. Yes, the baby oil.
Old school. I like my baby oil.
Girl, baby oil, it feels amazing. People don't, it feels amazing. Baby
It
oil.
really does. It really does. I actually just got some last week because that's my friend. I was like, oh my gosh, your skin is so soft. Like, she's like, baby oil. So I went to the store right away and I was like, okay, less crusty elbows, less crusty knees.
It works. It works. It works wonders. I'm just saying, folks. And
It
by the way,
does.
I don't get sponsored or even though they should cut me a check, but
They should, Kelsey. They should.
Cut that check.
But I love that you said that you're not just talking about it, you're being about it, right? You're actually taking action, because that's what it takes to get more women heard, to get more Black females out there in the journalism world. And we're seeing strides made, and it's because of people like you that are leading the way. So that's awesome, Kelsey. We're excited about it. So, what do you bring to the sports media world that's different than any other reporter out there? What would you say is your specialty?
Well, folks that know me know the reason why I go by my full name, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, is because K&N is my brand. And, I'm very proud of that, because there's no one else like me. And I think when I come to the table, again, it goes back to my childhood. You're going to get fun. I like to bring my personality. You're going to see a smile more than likely. I like to hop off pop culture references. I want to bring that energy. Again, I think my energy is unmatched. That's why, again, even though I don't sleep, I'm going to bring you my best every time I come out there. I'm not going to give you something dull and boring. Number two, I'm going to give you knowledge. Like, I breathe this. I'm, a historian of the game. And then even beyond the game, I'm somebody that studied policy, that studied race in sports. So I'm going to give you that intersection, to kind of give you that kind of full picture lens. And I think that's so important. I can talk the X and O's, but I can also give you a history lesson on why we are where we are today in sports. And so I think you're going to get some of that. And then I think for me too, like, I'm going to leave you with something. I think after I talk about, my mission is to always leave you with something that you didn't know, that aha moment, that something that makes you think. And I think that's what kind of makes me unique. And I'm always kind of having that in my mind and brain, because it's not hard to talk sports. It's not hard to talk sports. But people who are really good at it, to your question, they offer something different. How do you bring people in? How do you pull people in? And my goal too is to make you part of the conversation. I want you to feel like my homegirl. I want you to feel like, my homeboy. I want you to feel like when I'm talking to you. And that's what I try to do. I try to make sure, I'm using verbiage and wordage, that connects to, honestly, that any person out there, knowing my audience and who I'm talking to. I'm talking to New Orleans. I know I'm talking to family. There's certain wording and verbiage that I can use so they can fill in. I'm talking on a national show. I give a national lens. From when I'm speaking international, I have to give that American lens. Usually they want me to come on. So, I think just knowing which hat to wear, but again, knowing that you're going to be on a ride with me, you're not going to be bored. And usually I leave with a smile unless somebody makes me mad. But you'll get all of that.
I was like, I love your show, especially how you said, you just very raw with it. You so welcoming and stuff. So I was like, this in my life. We need this in, you're just like a people person.
I appreciate that. I love people. That's why I do media and journalism. Like, I genuinely do love talking to people. I want to hear your story. That's what inspired me to get into the world of journalism, because people have such fascinating stories. How do I tell that in a way to relate it to an audience? How can I connect the audience to their story? And then also me asking somebody else for their story, I have to be open to and willing to sharing mine. And I'm very comfortable with that, you know, because I just know there's somebody out there that might need it, that might listen to it, and hopefully, you know, it might inspire them. So that's always the goal whenever I'm broadcasting.
I'm with it.
Have you experienced any setbacks in your career, and how were you able to come out of those?
My gosh, yes. You know, I tell people all the time, like, don't believe everything you see on social media. Why? Because we post our wins on social media. You know, I'm not one of those people that's going to post, you know, I still to this day, I have a folder that's overflowing with all the no's I've ever gotten. But I keep it because it does a couple things. One, it reminds me of my journey, you know, that I've made. And it's a reminder to never give up. Because if I gave up after all of those no's, me and you wonderful ladies would not be here talking today. So it's super important, you know, for me to have that. And again, it keeps you humble. It really does. It really, really does. So I'm thankful to also know that, you know, I feel like God doesn't make mistakes, and what wasn't meant for me wasn't meant for me. And so I think that's super important to know. Cause again, I think, you know, sometimes, you know, when I haven't gotten things, folks, there's been a lot of things, even till this day, that I don't get. And, you know, people won't believe that. I'm like, Kelsey, I always see you posting on these things. Well, yes, I post the things, the good things, you know, and I'm not one to post like my sad things. Cause for one, I'm about spreading joy. That's why I usually have a smile on my face. There's so much happening in the world. My goal is to spread hope and to spread joy. So I'm not gonna, but also I'm transparent about that. That's why I have no problem talking about that. You know, I'll never forget, there was a job here in DC, and they took me to the studio set. They interviewed me. I crushed 3 rounds of interviews. They let me sit on the chair that I was supposed to sit in, you know, for the studio. They told me, this is going to be yours. We're going to start broadcasting. So they told me that it's going to start next week. So the week goes by, I don't hear anything. I'm like, okay, you know, maybe there's a delay or something. Okay, you know, let me not be annoying. Let them get back to me. 2 weeks go by. And then I'm like, all right, this is kind of weird, right? Like, why haven't they said anything to me? Send an email. Nothing back. 3 weeks go by. Still nothing. And I'm like, all right, you know, let them get back to me. 4 weeks go by. I send another email. And all of a sudden, you know, we chose to go another direction. And I'll never forget, I was heartbroken. I had this email. I was on the side of the street. I started crying. And anybody that knows me knows I'm really not an emotional person. Like, if you ever see me crying, it's like because I'm laughing during like a comedy movie or I'm crying during a movie. It's like the one time I get emotional. I don't know what movies do to me, but like, I mean, $1 Million Baby is my favorite movie, and I cry every single time, even though I know what's going to happen. Like, movies just
That's
do
so
something
funny.
to my
I've
emotions.
never seen that movie. I'm sorry.
Watch it. It's such a good movie, and it has such good lessons in it. But I give that as one example. That's just one thing I didn't get. But it took it personal because literally I thought I had this job. But it taught me a couple things, ladies. One, it taught me I didn't have a contract. I didn't sign anything. I went by word of mouth that I had this, right? And I didn't know. I was young. I was told I had it. I sat in the studio chair. You know, and it's funny because now I won't name the organization. This is an organization that I actually work a lot with now. So again, just because it didn't happen then doesn't mean you don't know the future. And you never know sometimes, you know, how things will be, you know, intertwined. And this, again, was a dream job in my dream city. And for me, anything in DC is like amazing because to me, you know, it's the nation's capital. It's the most powerful city in the world. So to get anything here is a dream. And again, because I come from such humble beginnings, you know, like I said, I'm from Germantown. And for folks that know Germantown, Maryland, you know, I grew up in the middle of like a suburb, but also like farm land and like corn stalk. So like, I think I'm like, I guess middle America. Like I know what it is to be like suburban, but I also know like what it is to go to a rave and to have friends that live on a farm. And to walk through cornfields. That's a whole nother story. But all that to say, like, you know, I'm thankful. And even now, you know, there's been opportunities that I've come close to that I have not gotten, that I really wanted, that I knew I was qualified for, and they went to other people. But again, I knew that just wasn't God's plan for me. And lo and behold, usually after I don't get something, next thing you know, another blessing comes. And that was the blessing that was supposed to hit me. So I say that to say, you know, yes, there's a lot of things even now. Like I could be on with y'all the whole time, like telling y'all all the things I haven't gotten. But it motivates me because what I tell people, when I get a no, I reverse the words and I see a on. And that means I'm supposed to be turned on to something else. Ooh. And that's what I look at every no as now. It's a turn on to something else. Because my word in life is being able to pivot. How do I pivot? How do I turn on something new and pivot to a new opportunity? And that's honestly been what my life has been, being able to pivot to different situations, opportunities. I'm thankful people are able to come to me to talk, honestly, every sport. And that's a dream. I mean, I started literally, you know, my 2 favorite sports were basketball and football. But I got turned on to doing other different sports, and now I'm covering baseball. I do soccer. I cover tennis tournaments here. I've covered Tiger Woods Quicken Loans golf tournament. I cover golf, so I've been, and it's amazing sometimes how, again, those no's have turned me on to other things. And honestly, it's made my brand even bigger now because of the opportunities that I missed. So I started to say, like, again, those opportunities that you miss, it might be for good reason. You might not look at it at the time, and don't think it's a bad thing to like not take it personally. I take things personally because I work hard. And so when I don't get something, it hits me personally. It does. But going back to what I said earlier, you got to think with your heart and your mind. I have to take it off the personal level, and I got to start thinking with my head and just saying, how can I pivot this? How can I turn on to make it something else?
Wow, I love that mindset. That's gonna be my new thing. I'm stealing it from you, Kelsey.
Please do. Just give me credit.
I will. I'll be like, turn on KNN.
There we go. See, I like it.
So, Kelsey, I have a question for you. Another question. If you had to tell your younger self what to expect to go through, what would you tell that younger self, and how would you advise that younger self to, like, what would you do if you get into that situation?
I would tell my younger self that don't think it's because you're good in the classroom that means you're going to have automatic success. And I'm going to explain this. So I was always a good student in school, right? Like always on honor roll and honor classes, AP classes, IB classes. Like I was always a smart student, and I thought growing up, if you were really good in class, that means you would automatically get a really good job. And in some fields, that's true, not in journalism and media. And I think I would tell my younger self, like, go beyond the classroom. And I learned how to network much later in life. I wish I would have been doing it on a younger level. And now if my younger self had social media like y'all have now, I would have been using it in those ways to network early, realizing it's not just about what I'm doing in class, but it goes so much more beyond. So I would tell myself to network earlier. The other thing I would tell myself is to be you and be confident and comfortable being you. And I talked about what I did to find my voice, but it took me a while to find my voice because so often growing up, I would watch the news and I would see these people and I thought to be like them, I had to sound like them, and I thought I had to look like them. So I was trying to do all these different things to be like them, not knowing that later on in life, how I would finally get hired is because people wanted me to be me. They already had everybody else. I didn't need to be them. They were already taken. So I would tell myself early on, Kelsey, be confident and comfortable being you. People are going to love you, girl, as you. Own that. Love that. Brand that. I wish I would have had my K&N brand, much, much earlier on. And not even knowing that, my name even could be a brand. Again, did not
That's
know
amazing.
That. I mean, you just never know. And again, K&N was something that people started calling me younger. Again, didn't know that was going to be a brand. It kind of stuck. And the next thing I know, I mean, it's how people know me. People I don't even know are like, hey, K&N. And I don't mind it. I love it. But, just tells you how far your brand can go. So brand that earlier, get your voice early, and be confident in that voice. I can't tell you enough. It's not just enough to find your voice, but be confident in your voice. And that means I can be in any room with people that might look completely different than me, but that voice is going to be there. And I'm going to be fine with it. And they're going to hopefully be fine with it. And if they're not, they weren't for me. And that's fine.
Right.
And network early. Network. Kelsey, you never know where those connections are going to lead or land you. I mean, literally sometimes, I've been in rooms with folks, like who are celebrity parents, and you wouldn't even know if you weren't networking with them. You just wouldn't know if you weren't talking. So I can't tell you enough how important it is to network, because you never know where those connections are going to go. And it's not just about who knows you, it's about who knows who. So people knowing you is going to be so important. And the biggest thing, your network, and this is my favorite quote, your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. So make sure you start on that early if you want to have a big net worth and longevity in media.
Some little nuggets on here. Guys better take note. Who was your biggest inspiration when you were little, like looking up into sports broadcasting?
Oh my gosh. Well, she's not necessarily sports. My biggest inspiration was Oprah Winfrey. So many reasons why. One, I had never seen somebody captivate an audience like Oprah. I mean, the Oprah Winfrey Show was religion. What was it, 4 o'clock? I mean, you couldn't bother any mom in America because she was watching the Oprah Winfrey Show, had the attention, of an audience. And then 2, because my family's from Mississippi, to see a brown-skinned woman, from Mississippi who had ties in Baltimore. So it goes back to my southern side and my Maryland side, be able to make it on the largest level. I just thought that was huge. And then for her to go on and be a Black woman to start her own network, her own network. I mean, of course, this is much later on, but Oprah for me has just been a trailblazer from the beginning. She knew how to connect with all types of people and captivate them and get their attention early on. My sorority line name is largely kind of based off that. And then two, I think too, just anybody that goes by one name, you know, you're doing something right. So that's what I need too as a brand. I had to have something that was unique to build off of. So I think Oprah just showed me too that she was so much more than just a media broadcaster. She opened to school. You know, she was leading, go back to hosting. She was leading all types of, you know, conferences, and she started a magazine. She's wrote books. And Oprah also taught me you don't have to be placed in a box and just do one thing. You can do so many things, but you can do so many things well. Again, I'm very into quality rather than quantity. And I saw in Oprah somebody that was actually able to combine the two and do quantity, but it was all quality. And so I think she just inspired me in so many ways. She still inspires me to this day. I like when people call me the sports Oprah, the baby sports Oprah. Oprah, I hope if you're watching this, I make you proud. I'm trying to be just like you when I grow up.
Hey.
That's so cool. I love Oprah, and do you know who else is my favorite? Because I'm a big Warriors fan. So I love the Curry family, and Aisha Curry is a big trailblazer for me because the fact that she's been able to make her own brand and have a magazine now, like, is crazy.
The cooking, I mean, and I love that. I think Aisha shows so much, you know, what an NBA wife can be. And I love that she's kind of broken that stereotype and brand. And I can't tell women enough, have your own brand. Love your man, but have your own brand that's always separate. You have to have something that's you. So when we say Aisha, we don't just see Steph, and he's amazing, he's great. We also see her. We know who she is, and that's going to give her longevity. That's going to help Riley and the little kids be able to look up to her too and say, Mommy, you're amazing. I mean, look at all that you're doing. And so I think that's just so important. I think it's such a great example. Aisha will not be placed in a box. And honestly, I think we have so much more we're going to get from her. Like, I think her sky is unfounded. Like, I think there's just, it's not stopping anytime soon. So Aisha's amazing. That was another great example.
Agree. Yeah, for sure.
Love your man, but be your own brand. Hold on, wait a minute.
I know, I need like a pen and paper, Ash. I didn't bring one on this episode.
I think I'm yes, I'm just saying, like, I mean, I hope and pray my future husband is in the basketball and stuff, but like I am my own brand, and hallelujah. So so if someone were to ask you, how is Kelsey Nicole Nelson more than a woman in sport, what would you say?
Okay, so I would say Kelsey Nicole Nelson is an entrepreneur. She's a business owner. She's a professor. She is a nonprofit owner. She is someone who likes to give back. She is someone who is driven by impact in the community. And she is KNN who will never be placed into a box. She's a sister. She's a leader. She's an inspiration to so many. You know, the quote I live by, what we do in life echoes in eternity. And she's somebody that every single day is just continuing to try to build legacy. I think that's what I would say. And that's what I hope I'm remembered by when I'm 7 feet under and long gone from this world. I truly hope that everybody just sees, like, she's a woman that chased her dreams, that never took no for an answer, turned on, and was able to accomplish incredible feats and just make her family proud.
You better. Yes. Hello.
Kelsey, you have inspired me and Ash for sure on this episode. Like, you're very a strong woman, a woman who knows what she wants. She achieved her goals. She is continuing to achieve her goals, paved the way for women. Just so amazing. So it's really, really cool to hear your words. And I literally wish I had a pen and paper because there's a lot of things. But you know what? I have this recording so I can look back on it.
Appreciate that. And, you know, I think that's the biggest thing too. It's like, you can have so much knowledge, but what good is knowledge if you're not sharing it out with the world? And I say that to say, like, when I learn things, I want to share them with folks. You know, there's so many people we wish we would have knew back then, or, you know, and so if I can help somebody learn this earlier to not make the same mistakes, or to, you know, hopefully take the road, you know, less traveled and have an easier path to success, then I want that for them. You know, like we say in DC, everybody eats. And there's room for all of us to succeed and eat and grow and blossom. And I want that. I truly do want that. Because to me, I'm somebody that was raised by a village, and a village is only as strong as each one of its members, which means that you can't have anybody sagging low. You just can't if you want to be a strong village. And the strongest communities in America are the perfect examples of this. The most wealthiest communities are because everybody there is eating well. They're all thriving, right? But that should be every community. How do we give back? And that's just not what it is right now. So my biggest thing is, what can I do to give back? How can I make an impact? And just knowing, I'm not going to be here forever. I want to keep the door open. I don't want the door. I don't even want there to be a door. I want the whole front porch off. I just want it to be open so everybody can come in and be a part of what's happening. It shouldn't be a secret. It shouldn't be behind closed doors. It should be something that everybody has access to. And I think that's, honestly, again, I think that's what God put me on this earth to do. And that's what I hopefully continue to keep doing.
Completely agree. There's definitely not enough of that. There's a lot of like gatekeeping. People don't want to share their secrets, but I love your outlook on it. Like, the more people in the village, the better, right? We all want this world to be successful.
Yeah.
We all want our sisters to be successful. So, and for me, Kelsey, this is really an inspiration because I want to create my own brand in the future. I want it to be like Tay. I want to be known as Tay,
I love it. Yeah. And do it. Manifest that. It's going to happen.
And you, like, just listening to you and hearing you and how you've been able to create this brand is really awesome.
And it's for everybody, folks. Come to me. Send me DMs. Tweet me. Challenge my sports takes. I can take it. I love that. I love the sports aspect. And also come to me beyond sports. Again, I'm somebody that cares about education, about literacy. I'm doing a lot of work on that now right here in DC. So I want to talk about it all. Again, I won't be placed in a box, and neither should you. One thing I just want to leave people with, we ask kids so often, what do you want to be in life? Let's stop expecting one-word answers or one-word careers. Let's let them put some commas and add on to so many different things. I think that's the great thing about life, is that you can start something and you can change and be. I'm a professor now. That was never in the plans. But when I was younger, I just wanted to be great. Kelsey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said great. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be great when I grew up. And it just turned into so many different things. And even now I'm chasing greatness. And that's kind of what inspires me and fuels me. So when I talk to young kids, I give them space. What do you want to be when you grow up? How many different things do you want to be? What's the impact of what you want to be in life? So I think we just have to start changing the wording that we're using for our children and kids. Motivate and inspire them early on. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Ladies around the world, Beyonce said it best, and I'm just thankful to be here. Congratulations to you all too on starting a podcast. It's not an easy feat, but just keep going, keep thriving, and again, I'm just honored to be on.
You made a point too, because don't be afraid of with commas, because everybody like them commas on them paper when they counting that money.
Look, that part.
That's true.
Checks deposited in your account. I'm just saying. So let them be whatever they want to be.
I love it. Well, thank you, Kelsey. We appreciate you. And women all across the world, hope you're tuned in. Men too. Everyone better tune in. And we will see you guys next week on She Is Serious. Every Tuesdays, new episodes dropping at 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Love you guys. Peace.
Hi, guys.